very happy, very happy to be here today with Christoph. Christoph is one of the great experts that I have gotten to know when it comes to designing and implementing great marketing technology stacks that are purposeful and impactful. He's been over 9 years with Salesforce, came over to Salesforce from the ExactTarget acquisition, and I look forward and hope you do too to some great insights from Christoph. I myself, Philip, I'm co-founder and CEO here at SalesWings. I have quite a bit of experience with marketing and sales technologies. Overall, have been building ventures as long as I can think back. And of course, the day-to-day work, I'm very proud to be working with some great clients on optimizing their processes for their revenue teams. Christoph, tell us a little bit about Fluent CX, and of course, then we're going to dive right into the content after.
Sure thing. Hey, Philip. Hey, first of all, thanks for the lovely introduction of my profile. Actually, considering like booking you in advance for my funeral, you can hold the eulogy. Really, words just need them past tense at this day. Anyway, about Fluent CX. Yeah, we started beginning of this year with quite a experienced group of people. We are Salesforce boutique partner. We do cover all clouds of the Salesforce platform, but have a very strong presence when it comes to Marketing Cloud. Actually have like an amazing A team together by now. Really try to take a use case driven approach wherever we can, because I think that really helps to create actions, and actions create information at the end. We are experts when it comes to lifecycle marketing. Doesn't matter the industry or the context, we can really help to look at the life cycle, the sales funnel, flip it around, find the gaps. And yeah, we bring our experience of hundreds and hundreds of Marketing Cloud projects to the table, and always happy to help.
Super, thank you so much. Of course, I can only warmly recommend Fluent, and Christoph, you've been in quite a few deals as well. So a brief introduction to SalesWings. SalesWings really is a great complement to the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, as well as Sales Cloud, for a range of use cases, and particularly B2B type use cases. Why do I say B2B type? This is, of course, because we see a lot of B2C customers that address both consumers and business customers, so automotive, insurance, etc. And we really bring in a compact platform a range of useful solutions. Firstly, first-party data collection, concretely website tracking, very granular data collection there. We tie this to leads in a fully automated manner, which really then allows for a lead and account profiling, providing a deep understanding of the needs and the interests of the prospects. And along with that, a set of tools such as no-code lead scoring, profile grading, and then of course we make everything available right inside the Sales Cloud. Last but not least, attribution, campaign reporting. Of course, if you do marketing, you want to understand what's working, what's not working. So this is really where SalesWings excels. Okay, let's get into the agenda. So not going to say more. Christoph's going to be starting with the Amazon standard, diving a little bit into the 4 pillars and types of data that is required for personalization thereafter. Then as we're moving down the funnel, so marketing slowly handing off the lead, we're going to briefly talk about sales and marketing alignment, and of course also sales personalization. So when it comes to consumer-like experience in B2B, it's a joint effort, both marketing and sales teams. So sales personalization, I would say, is a bit of a less of a hot topic, but of course it's very crucial. Then it's demo time. This is what I'm looking forward to the most. And in the end, key takeaways. And of course, if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat. We'll have some time to talk about this at the end of the webinar or in any of the following days. Christoph, you ready?
Couldn't be more ready. Thanks, Philip. Thanks for the introduction of agenda and everything. I'll keep my approach as usual. Talent borrows, genius steals. So we took the liberty of taking a couple of things out of the state of connected customer report from Salesforce, given we both as a company are pretty close to Salesforce. And in one of them, third or fifth edition, don't remember exactly now, they talked about the Amazon standard. And not a term that Salesforce came up with. You can actually Google it. There's plenty of different blog posts and articles about the Amazon standard, or the standard that Amazon set. And I mean, something we've seen in the market quite a lot, that a lot of companies, especially like due to the Corona pandemic, have gone through digitalization, either of their processes or of their content, right? In the B2B context, they move from trade shows to webinars, more video content, more white papers, like really strong digitalization of these components. Yet, like half of customers, we look at this report, still feel that the interactions that they have with the company are still impersonal or unpersonalized. And if we look at us, like the two of us, we're also consumers, although we're in the B2B business, right? But our expectations when it comes to processes, to experiences, are obviously driven by Amazon and the like. And I think it boils down to two components, and I think both of us are going to touch on one of them individually. 78% of customers expect a consistent interaction when they deal with a company. And it's sometimes not easy, right? Like a customer goes through a non-linear journey. They have multiple channels, multiple departments that they deal with, and they obviously expect these channels to be connected, be available, and obviously personalized as well, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, like you can do a lot about personalization, like the website is state of the art, your email communication is personalized. If this is not really passed along in the organization, doesn't really help either. And 59% of customers said they feel like they communicate with different departments. And again, we have this variety of channels that one goes through in a buying journey in B2B. But many apparently feel like their preferences or their previous interactions from the website, from a trade show visit, from the conversation they had with a business development representative or a sales representative, are not really shared across these departments. And if those two don't come together, it really makes it difficult to create this B2C experience.
Yeah. And you mentioned trade shows. I think during the pandemic, a lot of companies were struggling and finding themselves in a position where these personal interactions at trade shows were no longer possible. But I think we're seeing them come back now, Christoph, right?
Oh, I'm actually happy they're back. Didn't expect that, given we had so many trade shows back at Salesforce. I was actually tired of them at some point. But yeah, what 2 years of pandemic can do to you, I was actually looking forward to trade shows again.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go a step further. Because when we do look at Amazon and other companies, personalization is really key to the customer experience that they develop. And I mean, I could see it firsthand for me in the last couple of weeks and months. We did order quite a lot of hardware and equipment on Amazon as well. Had a few boo-boos here and there. I need to change invoice address, etc. And it was incredibly easy to do, you know, like via chat, just get these things organized. And personalization was really, really key to it. Again, a few numbers here from the connected customer report from Salesforce, because we do obviously see a demographic shift as well. But if we look at millennials and the Gen Zers, they obviously have a strong preference when it comes to engagement. They want the engagement through digital channels. The same when it comes to the conversion, like they prefer to do the purchase online versus in store. And I mean, we can see a lot of B2B companies embarking on B2B commerce or launching their shop maybe for, you know, replacement parts, etc., etc. And this is definitely the way you want to go at the end, right? I don't deny the fact that from a B2B perspective, you will still have your sales representative, like this in between, like this personal connection is absolute key when it comes to B2B buying process. But you want to have as many digital channels and touch points as you can possibly have. And we see the demographic shift, right? Like a young TikTok consumer today might be a B2B buyer tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. I think social media is a very important point. I think today not my mother, but my dad, I think definitely spends much more time on Facebook than I am. So of course, these are some of the areas where we want to be present. And not because those engagements may be more personal, but they are more, they're more personal because that's where, you know, these people are. And you want to speak to them where they are and be present where the client is. So yeah, tell us a bit about these 4 pillars of personalization.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of topics that I'm passionate about when it comes to digital marketing. Personalization is definitely top of the list. I mean, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and already 20 years ago, we did talk about personalization. And I still see many customers, both on the B2B as well as on the B2C side, where it's not really the case. And so we normally try to break it down for our customers. We see 4 pillars. Data is not a big surprise, but we often see customers being overwhelmed or telling us like we don't really have the data to personalize. And you look at it, well, hey, you do have demographic data, and yes, it's simple, but it's your starting point. And very often it's important to find a starting point. Yeah, and there's no way in denying that, you know, if you want to have a higher level of personalization, you do need more complex data, your transactional data or web activity, but you need to find a starting point. And often the data is already there that you can build upon it. In a second step, you want to build out insights. That does add a level of complexity, but based on your existing data that you have available, you want to create your customer lifetime value. You can derive personas. You can go through propensity modeling, scoring, etc. And even if you just have simple demographic data in combination with engagement data from your emails, from your mobile application or your website, you already have 2 data streams that come naturally, and you can actually get insights out of it, right? Yeah. Maybe just a simple engagement score, which you choose channels upon, right? Yeah.
And I do think, just to add maybe to your point, I think insights are becoming, even much more important than they used to be, and that's because the sheer amount of data that companies today have is growing and growing and growing. So the more data you have, the bigger the need to interpret that data and create actionable insights, right?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you find a starting point, right? We often see that we get stuck in big data discussions, and we completely lose focus. Like we want to find a starting point, even with the simple things, before you start about talking like, let's create 3-dimensional scoring models, etc. Although the personalization level is 0, right?
Right. Tell us a bit about content then. What's the next?
Yeah, I guess that's the least surprise of all, right? You do need content when it comes to personalization. It is a struggle for many companies. If your personalization rules become more complex, where you go beyond just simple blast or persona-driven personalization, where's content coming from? Because content production takes time, but very often content is already on the website. You have a blog post that you can connect through a feed or something like that. You might have an asset library that already feeds into your content management system. So try to bring a level of automation into content. And automation is really important, especially when we talk about operations, especially for B2B, because we often see that the marketing teams for B2B are smaller in comparison to B2C, no surprise there. And if you want to embark on making your digital marketing more personalized, you need to change. Like if the size of your team remains the same, you need to change the way of working. So you need to automate wherever you can. So you have a lean organization and leverage automation wherever you can. And especially Marketing Cloud is best suited when it comes to automation of these components.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you mentioned an important point. Resources, of course, are always scarce, but the essence is to make the most out of what you have. And as you want to grow the investment in your organization and your team, reporting becomes key. Reporting simply to prove to your management the results that you're getting. This could be done comparing things like standard email blasts or standard segments versus segments that are maybe behavior-based or personalized based on additional context, right? And I think here also, it's about finding the right balance between creating way too many segments versus having a few pragmatic ones that you can build upon. And one thing I do want to tell everybody here is just start easy. Don't try to think you need to, go from 0 to 100. The most important thing I think is, get it going. Well, B2B data types. Here also we have 4.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at data types or data categories for B2B, they're not significantly different to B2C, but they're much harder to capture because you might have less points of identification where maybe someone signs up or purchases something. And obviously the website or digital content is probably less frequented by an individual user in comparison to a B2C website, let it be fashion or retail, right? You obviously have your firmographic data, the industry, the region, revenue, company size. So like rolling up to the account, and that's already plenty of information to run campaigns as well. Then you have your demographic data. So this is the individual that you actually communicate with, like your buyer, the researcher, your contact at the company. What is the name, the role? Are they a decision maker? Are they holding the budget? To whom do they actually report? And then you add behavioral data to that. You've got your white paper downloads, demo requests, depending on what you offer, a trade show appearance, the visit by a sales rep, etc. And these 3 already, like if you look at the maturity level, from a personalization perspective, if we just use firmographic data, it's still pretty blast driven. You bring some relevance into it, but you will have a blast email campaign or blast marketing campaign within one industry. But then you want to break it down to profiles. Yeah, so you have your decision maker, your department, and make it profile driven. You add behavioral data to that. So you've got a persona of someone and make it more relevant. But something that we see that is often not done in a B2B context is using contextual data or contextual information, especially when it comes to web behavior. Because in B2B, like the same applies in the B2C space, where like probably in the B2B space, up to 90% of the website traffic is anonymous. So I'm already working on a session ID or on a cookie ID. If you use a tool like Marketing Cloud Personalization, which we see in the demo later on, you can then, based on the website behavior, use AI to create affinities. You can really derive additional information from the session behavior as well. So what was the content consumption? And not just from a simple click, but also how much time did they spend with the different pieces of content?
Right.
What kind of device or browser did they use? Have we identified them or not? And that's where we get interaction driven. Because Marketing Cloud Personalization helps us to create a profile for an anonymous user. Once identified, we can trigger campaigns as well. You can have your next best offers and actions that drive further campaigns as well. And this is what many B2C companies, especially the sophisticated retailers, are already doing. And we currently work with a quite sophisticated B2B company that uses Marketing Cloud Personalization and have a really strong focus on the anonymous user as well to get more out of it, like really drive them to the right piece of content and get them to identify themselves.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting how you're summarizing some of these key points. So let me take everybody here one funnel or a little bit down in the funnel. So marketing and sales, tag teaming, marketing driving demand for sales. Let's not forget sales personalization, because what really is the keyword in personalization? It is person. And one of my former bosses actually told me, Philip, business doesn't happen between companies. Business happens between people. So who's in a better spot than a salesperson in a one-on-one engagement to either create or damage the experience that the B2B buyer has. Now, what are the ingredients for salespeople to create a personalized approach to advising the B2B customer? No surprise, it's data and insights. And one thing I'd like to mention right now is this is a shared pool of data and a shared pool of insights. So there may be some things that are more relevant for marketing, others may be more relevant for sales, but because data historically has often been dealt with and managed and taken care of by marketing, it's often kept a little bit away from the salespeople. There's still too many silos, but this is one team. The revenue team, marketing and sales need to work together. So if there is interesting data and there are great insights, we must have this data available for the salespeople, and that happens typically in the Sales Cloud. Now here, see this poor gentleman, salesperson. I mean, did you ever walk into a store where a salesperson was there, couldn't see you, couldn't understand you, couldn't see which products you were looking at? That would be a pretty terrible experience, right, Christoph? So in digital, it's exactly the same, just that in digital, people feel it's even harder because they possibly don't have the right advice or the right tools. Just like marketing, content is a super important ingredient to creating a personal experience. So content is conversations, yes, information the salesperson is passing. And then, of course, there are blog posts, white papers, webinars like this one. There's a range of information that can help me help the buyer make a decision about a purchase or me as a supplier. So content is absolutely key. And lastly, so the one that maybe here is a little bit different, of course, operations is also important, but training we see being super crucial to enabling salespeople deliver this personal approach. And what you can see here in the center of my screen is an account view in Salesforce. There's so much data, there's so much information, insights. A lot of this is very valuable, unless the salesperson doesn't understand what the data means, or in the worst case, doesn't even know it's there, and why it's important, they will not use that. So this is why sometimes less is more. So we're talking about big data, but yes, I mean, sometimes it's small data that matters, and it's just kind of understanding the importance. But training also relates to tools available. So Salesforce is there. There's a lot of other tools salespeople are managing. They have a lot of contacts. They need to be able to focus, and also with the content. Many salespeople sometimes don't know that certain pieces of content exist, so we need to take care of that. So as I was preparing this presentation, I tried to simplify what it comes down to for a salesperson to create a great experience. The most important thing is having this deep understanding of the prospect. The prospect can be a lead, it can be an account, it can be contacted. It doesn't really matter. But unless I understand who's in front of me and what they care about, there's no way I can be personal, because it's not about what I want, it's about what they want. So having this understanding is important. And what is understanding? So key to sales engagement is, firstly, it has to be timely. Have you ever gotten a call where somebody tried to sell you something or tried to tell you something was completely not in the context of your current priorities or challenges? That's a bad experience. Also in B2C, even more, because sometimes they arrive at 8 o'clock at night, but B2B as well. So, but if I do get a timely call because I'm actually thinking about, possibly working with this company, it's much more impactful. So this means better connect rates, better conversations, and a faster pipeline. So what are some of these information here? So think about, a lead has to be qualified by marketing. This is marketing's job. First and foremost, ensuring that the lead is only arriving at the sales rep's desk or list when they're qualified. They can be identified as a hot lead. So SalesWings, for example, has a engagement score. We like to call it a temperature. And when a lead is returning to the website several times, shows interesting activity, we can surface them, and you'll see this in a minute. Timely can be around a campaign. And here again, marketing and sales, when it comes to campaigns, need to act as a team. But how do you expect salespeople to follow up on campaigns if they're getting a report on a campaign a week later, or are not even aware that a campaign is happening. The second very important thing of personal and creating a great experience is that what I'm telling my client is actually relevant. And what is relevant, it's the buyer again that decides. And even in digital, as you'll see, we can listen to our customers, the way they behave on a website, the way they interact with my company and business digital channels tells us what they're looking for. So the demo you're going to see is in the context of an industrial company. So at the bottom left, you can see some attributes. Susanna may be interested in power supply, premium maintenance, end-of-life management. So picture me knowing this. If I cannot reach this person on the phone, well, the kind of information I'm going to be sharing will be tailored to that person's needs over email. But I first need to have this data and these insights. And you've seen here pop up also the account logo. So accounts are made up of people. So we need to find a way to aggregate the contact's interests up to the account level. The bigger the deals, the more important are account-based motions. So that's another point. And then keep in mind also great experiences. I'm not just going to be helpful and sharing information about products or services, but other things the buyer cares about. So a lead reading my sustainability report will be probably be happy to read additional information about this. Now, sales and marketing alignment is key. So prioritization, communication, shared strategies and goals is of essence. And we see here just a couple stats. Only 7% of salespeople consider marketing leads qualified that come over. So there is a disconnect, or sometimes also just an inability to reliably identify these leads. Good news is most business leaders do understand there's a negative impact if sales and marketing teams don't work closely together. So if there's one advice I'll give you after this call, if it's been a long time you've spoken to the sales teams or the marketing teams, set a meeting, try to have a regular engagement and share what you're working on and understand how you can support each other. And last but not least, of course, the fact is simple. Well-aligned teams have higher win rates, and we're all here to do business, of course. So make sure this is working seamlessly. So we're at the demo. So while I hand over to my colleague Christoph for the first part of the demo, we have a quick poll for everybody here. Clément, if you can launch the poll. There you go. So just a quick question. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing linked to personalization? If you had to say, okay, so I'm sure you're doing some sort of personalization, but if you want to say you want to go that next level up, what is it that you consider is difficult for you? And while you're answering, demo time. Christoph, tell us briefly, because the timing, we have to just be a bit. We're all very excited about these topics. Tell us about the demo.
All right. Yeah, as always, let's look at the thing in real life as well. So we built out a little demo about around a fictional manufacturing company. So you will see that Fluent CX is not just a Salesforce boutique partner, but also Europe's biggest widget provider. So we're gonna see Interaction Studio as well as SalesWings in action. And why we look at those two in particular, not just because it's part of this webinar, but we already mentioned the B2B sales funnel a few times before. I really want to highlight again that when we do look at the B2B sales funnel, and especially the website as a first touch point, getting more and more important with the younger generation popping up, we want to address the unknown audience in a much better way, like these 80 to 90% of unknown users. And then we move down the funnel. Hand over to you, Philip, and see how this actually looks like from a sales perspective when we work in our CRM.
Fantastic.
All right, let me just share my screen. I hope
Sure.
that is working and should be visible now.
Yes, all good. Set to go.
All right, and let's get cracking. So we're here on our manufacturing site, as I said, Fluent CX, Europe's leading widget provider. And as part of the demo, we will also see how I'm absolutely incapable when it comes to designing things. So far, I think it still looks good. We see our main hero banner here, and we're going to change a few things based on my behavior. And I just hit the website the first time. So I'm an anonymous user, just based on the cookie right now. And I'm just going to scroll through the website a little bit just to build out a profile. We do so with Marketing Cloud personalization. So based on the cookie, every single click that I take, but also the time that I spend with content or on particular sites will flow into my profile, and the AI will help me to build out an affinity wheel, which we'll see later on as well. We keep it simple. I just took one click, go back to the main page. You can see now difference in design, but this is the banner that I created. So just based on a simple click based on gas and petroleum solutions, if we go back, we are changing the hero or the main banner directly on the website. Important, we can do that with a variety of different pieces on content on the website. It doesn't need to be the hero banner in particular. But let me just build out my profile a bit more. I'm going to look at the case studies as well. I can see all the different case studies that are being offered, but maybe I don't really interact with them. I just leave as it is. Go back to the home page. Can be directly in the session. It can be that I leave the website and I come back in a couple of days or a couple of weeks as well. My banner here is still being personalized based on my behavior. And if I scroll down, you can now see we've got a little slide in here because I did have a quick look at the case studies. I didn't really download any. And Marketing Cloud personalization now decides that maybe it's a good time for me to look at the offers that we have around white paper and maybe download one as well. And these type of actions is based on the context that I build out, either based on my web behavior. You can obviously integrate a variety of different data sources as well, but really trying to get the most out of the website visit. And in all honesty, you don't want to be as pushy as myself, right? Really just for demo purposes, we see this slide incoming again, because I haven't really downloaded a white paper just yet. If I were to download the white paper at the bottom of the page, then obviously this slide in, this campaign would disappear. Again, this is contextual data. I might have interacted with the website, I might have interacted with particular campaigns, and all this information drives the personalization on the website. We can bring this information into my email campaigns as well, into my mobile application, etc., etc. So just a really simple example of how the website can be personalized in real time. Very important because I did it in the session. Now let's look under the hood a little bit. And for that, just going to switch to Marketing Cloud. And we now see here Marketing Cloud personalization in particular. I've got my standard dashboard. No surprise that my reporting here is very similar to the web analytics reporting that you might already look at on a regular basis in your business. Because we have a tracking code on the website and we do track the web behavior, but we track it from a bit of a different perspective because we drive campaigns. So here you can see the different campaigns that are set live. We see the different impressions. We could even manage look at the revenue that has been driven or conversions, whatever the conversion might be, the download of a white paper, signing up for a webinar or the like. But I would like to have a particular look at a user. And like in a good cooking show, something has been prepared. And I take an individual user. We can see how the behavior on the website is visualized in this affinity wheel. And in all honesty, as a marketer, I'm not necessarily looking at individual records when it comes to personalization of the website or other channels. But I think it's always important to show what is happening behind the scenes. So based on the website behavior, I can see with what type of content have they interacted. So this person looked at the case studies, but might not have downloaded one. They looked at the solution page on a macro level, and then we break it down. But it's not just based on the views. And that's an interesting, also an important part, because very often, like if you have a web analytics tool, you get easily fooled by the numbers. So someone might have viewed agriculture or gas pipelines or the like, but it's also important to see how much time did they spend with the content? And then the picture might actually look completely different. We can see before agriculture was there, but if you look at the time they spent with the content, again, very, very important contextual data, that we want to have ready to drive our campaigns, it looks quite different. Yeah. And for such an individual, we can see in which type of segments they actually fell. They do come in real time to these segments. So might be an identified user now. They looked at particular products. Did they show particularly actions in the past weeks? We can break it down like these affinity details that we looked at before, like in this wheel. We can have them shown in a different way. We can see the view time. Did they interact with content in regards to downloading a white paper or signing up? So we get really, really granular data for our individuals. But Philip, this is really just the marketing view. Let's look down the funnel a bit further. Let's assume everything is going fine. We've got a marketing qualified lead. The person identified him or herself with a white paper download or the like. So how does that actually look like when we hand it over to sales, and how we interact with it from a CRM perspective?
Many thanks. I was waiting for that lead to come over. As every good salesperson, of course, we want to have great leads in abundance. So let me know when you can see my screen.
There it is.
Case. Okay, so those leads, contacts, accounts, the first touch point, or I'd say the first in the timeline touch point, is when that lead is handed over. The first thing the salespeople need to do before doing any sort of outreach is prioritizing that next best action. What we're seeing here is a contact list, unprioritized, and we see a lot of salespeople get leads handed over in lists like this or reports. How should a salesperson be able to have a timely conversation if they're unable to prioritize the leads that are expecting an outreach? And keep in mind, training and collaboration is important. One thing I would recommend you to do as you start enabling salespeople with insights and with data is understanding how they're working. So a simple exercise, in fact, you can do is walk over to the sales floor or give them a call on Hangouts and just ask them to share their screen and work. Have a look for 10, 15 minutes. Where are they working? Are they looking at leads? Are they looking at contacts? Do they have an opportunity list open at any moment in time? So where does this prioritization happen? And this, of course, will depend on your team, but it may also very much be based on what the manager is asking them to do. SalesWings, so just a quick understanding, so it takes over this particular lead, and then we'll bring all the data and all the insights right into the Sales Cloud within a few minutes. So this makes this data available, and we're really trying to make this also intuitive. So I'm on a contact list. SalesWings will work perfectly with leads, contacts, accounts, and opportunities, of course. And what we're seeing here is that same list with SalesWings information. So what we can see here, now just imagine you had to guess who's the next best lead. Well, of course, we can see here the hot leads are marked in a very user-friendly manner. We have things like time of last website visit or engagement. This is interesting to follow up in time over the course of a longer sales cycle. Of course, there's going to be multiple touches. If I see somebody come back to my website, it's as if they come back to my physical store, even if I don't have one. So as a salesperson, why would I walk outside my store, talk to somebody else if there's somebody in my store showing interest? So time of last website visit is a simple data point, but very effective to prioritize any sort of list of prospects. Predictive score we've seen. We see here total, so this is the point lead scoring. We can do multiple lead scoring to measure the level of interest in the company based on how they behave, fit scoring, etc. So let's put the hottest leads here at the top of the list. So you can also see this is another way. And of course, all this data can be used for filters. Now, because we want to support salespeople in being personal and creating a great experience, one of the best ways to do this in an effortless manner is to send alerts. Alerts are effortless. I saw this great talk once from actually the Gmail founder, that I recommend you warmly to watch about the age of notification. We're living in the age of notification. So today I'm getting notified by my mobile phone that my flight's going to take off, or somebody's pinging me, or that a lead is very interested. And SalesWings, for instance, has a great Slack integration. This is where our team works, and a lot of modern teams are working. So here we have Susanna Sommer, Industrial Group, looking at my website, and particularly Standby Power seems to be of interest. If you're not using Slack and you want to send sales alerts, consider Flows in Sales Cloud. Flows really becoming that RPA tool to automate processes, and sending an email is a great way. For instance, every time a lead is updated in Sales Cloud, have a look at the lead score. If the lead score is high enough, send them an email with Flows. So this is one example. Another example of prioritization, but really also handoff. So how are you going to hand off these leads to sales, which isn't really trivial. So another great way we love are reports. So here you see this webinar list. So SalesWings, for example, allows you to automatically put leads or contacts or accounts in a report as they engage with a specific campaign. So whether this is an email campaign, whether this is an interaction studio, a banner, a call to action, it could be a list also of leads who are interested in specific products. It makes it really easy. And one thing I really like about reports, and a lot of people don't know that, is salespeople can actually subscribe to reports. If I subscribe to reports, I can say, well, every day or every week, 8 a.m., I want to get a report when I'm having my coffee. I want to go through the leads that have been on my website yesterday or that have recently signed up. So reports are a great way for you to enable your sales team to create that customer experience with you. Accounts is another one. So SalesWings does aggregate all the insights, the interests, and so on the account level. You can see this here. And now let's have a look at the next step. So as I'm on my contact list, so quickly prioritizing my next follow-up. So I'm going to pick my demo lead here, wherever she may be. Okay, I did open it already. So here is Susanna Sommer from the Industrial Group demo. Let's have a look at this data and insights that a tool like SalesWings can provide. The first thing you're going to be seeing here are our colorful tags. Tags provides the essence of what the salesperson needs to understand when it comes to then reaching out and helping that person in an impactful and personal manner. The tags summarize things like product interest, service interest, buying signals, topics, or like in this example, I can see that they've looked at the blog post where we're advertising our presence at the Power Expo in Paris. So this particular example is interesting because now I'm going to be reaching out to this lead or contact, letting them know that, by the way, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to be, reaching my goals, which is, of course, to meet a maximum number of qualified leads, and then supporting marketing in reaching their goals, which probably will be number of participants or number of leads registered at a stand, etc. It provides me with context. Now, going a little bit down, we can see here the various lead scores that we set up. Some companies, they just need one lead score. We always recommend, if you can keep it simple, keep it simple. Sometimes you have different divisions or product lines where you want to qualify leads on a range of different things. So what I can see here is that there's a standby power score of 100. So 100 being top, this means this is where the biggest interest is. I can see petroleum and gas, a little bit less, a little bit of interest maybe. You can ignore these other twos. And something else we're scoring or measuring with SalesWings sometimes is a preference of interactions. Where has this lead interacted with us? Is it social? Is it email? And this allows me as a salesperson, again, tailor the way I reach out to this lead. Notably, they may be expecting me to reach out on LinkedIn versus email, which they're visibly not reading or interacting with. The other thing we see being crucial is that salespeople get an understanding of why is this marketing lead qualified, because they don't believe it. Remember, 7% of sales reps already think that marketing leads tend to be not qualified, or actually only 7%. So providing context removes a little bit of this black box and black magic of a lead score. It's just kind of a number. But now, again, I have confirmation, well, there were 7 visits to this particular page and so on. Last but not least, understanding the journey. So here we have some insights on when this engagement occurred. Very busy on Sunday, also on Monday. So it's a very good timing to reach out to this person. Now, SalesWings is a very user-friendly solution. We've seen the technology, sometimes can be difficult in the poll. We see that data is sometimes also a bit of a challenge. So SalesWings, you've seen these colorful tags. So I just want to show you how I've created one of these. So the Power Expo in Paris is a very simple one. So here I'm just looking at a website visits to a particular page. Now, if I do want to make these tags a bit more granular, I could add additional criteria to set the threshold a little bit higher, but it's really very user-friendly. Now, going one step further, again, I guess also just to mention, so all the contacts, interests and preferences, sales readiness is aggregated on the account level as well. So you can see here the corresponding account. And you can see here how all the scores will be aggregated from the different buyers. Because of course, a person may have an interest, but the account's interest, you have multiple buyers, is as important. And then, of course, I can prioritize the right contact to reach out to. Last, one more thing, reporting. I did mention that also reporting is important to management. All the data you get with SalesWings, you can generate insights from. Here we have a simple report showing me leads and contacts who have engaged with specific email campaigns over the last 30 days. You can, of course, look at accounts, or you can look at content engagement by channel, and you could map that to opportunities and success. Whatever success is it a number of qualified leads? Is it a number of closed-won deals or deal volume? And you can look at how behavior, correlates to outcome, and you can really report on, what you're doing day to day. We have 8 more minutes, so let's just quickly come back here and look at these key takeaways. We want to have a few minutes for the questions. Key takeaway number 1, Christoph, no surprise.
Yeah, almost sounds like I'm repeating myself, right? Personalization is the key ingredient. There's many factors that can hold you back, as we saw on the survey, but this is something you need to tackle at some point, even if it's with baby steps.
Right.
Contextual first-party data collection. We've seen it from different perspectives. I think when it comes to digital content, we've seen the claim, content is king, especially in the last years when a lot of content was digitalized. If you use a tool like Marketing Cloud Personalization, because I think it really nicely closes this gap, because we see a lot of B2B marketing automation tools out there that help you with some of the website traffic tracking, but they don't really focus on the personalization part of it. And that's where you go from content is king to context is God, actually. Like you have this contextual data, and you know, your push marketing becomes pull marketing as well. I find it very, very important.
And here, just to add to that, I think it's also, we've seen sharing data is key. So interesting to note, Interaction Studio does have access to SalesWings scoring, SalesWings insights, and SalesWings, of course, is able to measure those interactions on Interaction Studio to create targeted sales lists. Well, aligning marketing and sales teams, yes, do work together. Have regular check-ins and ask how you can support the other department better, because you have the same goal. If marketing and sales both work together, you will be more successful. And also, don't forget sales personalization. I hope you've seen how some insightful information can help do timely interactions and really relevant to this B2B buyer. And Christoph, when's the best moment to start?
Definitely now. I mean, told you before, action provides information. I've got a jar full of fortune cookies with other business phrases. Could even say execution eats strategy for breakfast. Get started. We've seen too many customers on our side that just got stuck on the strategy part of it and never really actually got into doing. And do it now. Let's get cracking.
Right. Yeah, agile is another buzzword, but it is important. I think you know, both Interaction Studio or SalesWings, there are things like pilots, MVPs, etc. And yes, execution is absolutely king. So next steps. Well, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Also, just if you want to have a conversation, don't be shy. We're more than happy. You can connect with us in Slack, email, or LinkedIn. Just reach out. And we want to open the floor if there are some questions. I don't know.
Philip, we've got the first question for you, I guess. The audience is asking how you can differentiate the paid versus the unpaid traffic with SalesWings.
With SalesWings, okay. So SalesWings, it's straightforward. Chat is disabled. Mina says, is it? So anyway, yeah. So how do we do that? It's quite simple. So we can look at organic traffic, referral URLs, and we distinguish if there is a UTM parameter in it. So if you have a UTM parameter where you have a medium paid, for example, we understand it's a pay click. If medium social, we understand it could be a social click or a combination. So very straightforward, in fact.
Yeah, you just need to make sure you do your homework, right? Like if you do have your
use
traffic
UTMs, use UTMs. Yes,
exactly. Have your parameters ready.
Yes, and UTMs have been around for, I think, pretty much forever. We have a great article on our blog, on the SalesWings blog, about UTM. What are they good for and why? Something often overlooked. If you don't use them consistently either, your data's wrong. So make sure you do. And there's a great tool called utm.io for managing UTMs to track campaign and channel and sources of your marketing activities. Great. Other questions? Lamont, can you?
Yep. Another one. Does the implementation of Marketing Cloud personalization requires to change the website setup?
I'll take this one, not surprisingly. Yes, it does to some degree. I mean, you do need the tracking pixel on the site, similar as for SalesWings. So we want to track the behavior. The campaigns you've seen in my demo, like switching the banner, for example, You need to define what's called a content zone in Marketing Cloud Personalization. So you need to dedicate some space on the website. It doesn't mean that you need to change the website in its form and shape, but you need some dedicated space for Interaction Studio, Marketing Cloud Personalization, a bit old school when it comes to the product naming.
Yeah, you're getting old, Christoph.
Yeah, slow adopter, can't help it.
It's still part of, for me, it's still Interaction Studio to me, so.
Yeah, but you need to be in a position to switch content. So override a banner, have space for a slide in, etc. So there will be some changes, but they don't necessarily need to be super invasive. Doesn't mean you need to rewrite your website or have a new CMS or something like that.
Cool. Do we have other questions? I can't really see them.
So we have one last, Philippe. How about consent management when it comes to tracking anonymous users?
Well, so consent in digital, in general, especially as they arrive on the website, will be managed with a cookie management solution. You have to imagine that tracking scripts of any kind are being executed on the website. Cookie solutions, what they do is you basically put all your scripts in kind of a container, and then the client will be able to say, yes, I want to accept these kind of cookies or not. And if they say no, well, the script will not be executed. So this is, of course, very important. We want to enable the people to have their privacy. I'm a strong promoter of personalization, of course. I could not imagine a web experience without personalization. If I keep seeing the same thing and it's just not relevant for me, it's wasting my time. But of course, I mean, there's sometimes I want to have the privacy, so it makes absolute sense.
A disclaimer: this is not legal advice, obviously. But it's true. Like in general, like with all these technologies, the consent management lies with you, the customer. It's your website. It's where you need to manage the consent as well. There's obviously solutions from Salesforce as well to help with that. But you need to ensure that tracking pixels are fired when you have the consent. But again, hashtag, this is not legal advice.
Right. Okay, fantastic. We're at the top of the hour. Yeah, many thanks, everyone. I had a lot of fun. I think Christoph as well.
Thanks for having me.
And we have a last poll for those that are still around. If you want to launch it, Clément, just some quick feedback about this webinar. But we love to hear from you if you have questions, insights, something to share. Just reach out and yeah. Have a good evening or good lunch or wherever you are.
Right, same from my side. All the best, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Have a good one. Bye-bye.